We're back with another episode of Before You Buy, the only video you need to watch before you buy Crimson Desert. There's been a lot of hype about this big, splashy open-world game. It's been in development by Korean studio Pearl Abyss for many years now, with some incredible-looking visuals, but hype can be a dangerous thing. Now, how is the game actually? Is it actually fun to play? Well, it certainly is. Crimson Desert is well-inspired, clearly, by so many other big games, from The Witcher to Skyrim to Tears of the Kingdom to even a little Monster Hunter. It managed to feel like a unique experience. Sometimes it's a weird experience, and I think some types of gamers are just going to completely be turned off by some of it or just opt out. But ultimately, this feels like a big, ambitious, sometimes goofy, but passionate video game theme park to play around in. Basically, if you can put up with some BS here and there, and are okay with great gameplay, but not a very compelling story, at least so far, then you'll have a blast in this world, man, with fun combat and rewarding exploration. The game does not hold your hand. It gives you a generous amount of game and content, and just great music and visuals. I really enjoyed my time here. Now, keep in mind, this is a massive game, staggeringly big, one of the biggest we've seen in a long time, and this is just going to be our first impressions here. And this footage is captured running on PC and is spoiler-free. The footage you see here only scratches the surface as we keep it to early stuff to avoid spoilers. First things first, Crimson Desert drops you into this medieval fantasy world filled with knights, kings, maidens, goblins, monsters, dragons, and then weirder stuff like some crude robotics and high fantasy technologist stuff. You play as Cliff. He is a warrior of the Greymanes, one of the many factions in this world, and after being killed by a rival faction, you're revived by an otherworldly force and thrust back into the world, but with some superpowers. In the early hours of the game, it's up to you to just get your bearings, reunite with your Greymanes, build a camp and a home, and then go out on a bigger adventure. Now, I'm gonna rip the band-aid off here with a negative, but for me personally, the first few hours or so of this game are not good at all. It gets much better after that. It really picks up. Now, I know some JRPG fans know what I'm talking about, but for some people this might come as a shock. The game just has so many gameplay systems and mechanics that it takes hours to slowly introduce you to all of it. It trickles out, and even then, it still actually managed to gloss over some things. There's going to be stuff that they don't explain to you. Look, if a game has a lot, and it takes a lot of time to explain it all, that could be fine, I guess. It's not the game's fault. It's just that the quests they give you here, the things you need to do, are all just pretty boring. The game has a lot of weird, nonsensical moments that feel disjointed, like stuff was cut from the game, or maybe it's just put in place to annoy you or slow you down. Your motivation is basically very little, and the game gives you minimal story reasons to really care at the outset. I was nervous kind of thinking to myself, what's the big deal with this game? This seems kind of lame, but I stuck with it, and once this game opens up, it really opens up, and it's a ton of fun. Expressive combat that makes you feel powerful while keeping the game challenging. Loads of variety to it. The ability to play as other characters with their own unique spins. And then you switch to them GTA 5 style. There's base building, crafting, fishing, mining, bounty hunting, mounts, robots, jetpacks, riding dragons, weirder and weirder enemies. This is a game where the developers threw the kitchen sink at you. You could do tons of stuff. Most of the systems here are done right, and they feel good and are nicely implemented down to chopping a tree down or placing a table in your house to the feel of a parry or horseback controls. But the biggest thing I think is combat. There's a lot you could do here with it just because the moveset slowly builds over time. You have a block, parry, light attack, heavy attack. You very quickly get a kind of force push ability that expands into more. And you think that's it. It sounds pretty simple, but the moveset expands greatly through your magical abilities, but also through a pretty damn solid skill tree with lots of different things to unlock. As much as it's a very hack and slashy style game, there's a surprising amount of ability combos you can stack on one another and just pull off some really cool moves that makes you feel powerful. The strike of a sword, a parry, all of that feels really good. The way Cliff will rend his sword into someone and pop the sword out with a little flash of gore and the enemy flying away, it's just satisfying. And again, as the moveset expands, this just gets more and more fun. The game is happy to throw tons of enemies at you and let you go hog wild. If you want to use a bow and arrow to snipe out some guys and stealth around, that's fine. The stealth is a little weak, but at the very least, when you crouch and move around, the map adapts to show you enemies' vision cones, which is cool. But, typically I would thin the herd a little bit and then go all out with combat. If you're like me, you're going to be playing, and you're probably going to end up, unlocking things and then using them a lot. Getting the ability to throw dudes, eventually getting the ability to, choke, slam, clothesline dudes, but then more massive magical abilities like a ground pound and just, all kinds of effects you can stack on one another. So again, combat with a pretty simple, straightforward straightforward foundation that gets surprisingly complex. And that's a big part of what I'm saying here is, like, you know, when the game really opens up, it gets a lot more fun because you get to just do all this wild stuff, and how all these systems, again, starting with small foundations and building upon that, all kind of lead to fun player experimentation. The game's not holding your hand. It's letting you just figure out what you can do, how capable you are just by messing around, kind of like figuring out your favorite tricks in, like, you know, Tears of the Kingdom or something like that. The game has a lot of moments that hit the same way. Not to mention the fact that, like, while Cliff is very much a sword and shield type of guy, you do have some weapon variety there as well. And then switching to other characters to get another different flavor of combat, they don't feel half-assed. They all have their own move sets that are fairly well thought out. As much as Cliff is the one you're going to stick to, these characters don't feel like an afterthought gameplay-wise. At least from what I have encountered so far, the combat's really strong, but also like the movement, which then encourages the exploration. Running around as Cliff is great. You have a stamina meter and you can upgrade that slowly over time thanks to that good skill tree I mentioned earlier. But Cliff also has this like really cool glide ability. And then it's not just a glide ability, because you can upgrade that to do a variety of things like rocket forward, and again, that relies on your stamina. So the more you upgrade that, the better. But riding on horseback is really good because not only can you engage in combat while on the horse, but the horse has a drift ability and the horse can be upgraded itself. It can also be outfitted with different loot, and they really thought of a lot here. Everything has a little subsystem. And in terms of loot and stuff like that, so far I've really enjoyed how it all works, how it all goes down. You visit lots of shopkeepers, there's tons of resources, and getting different loot feels substantial. You get to very quickly outfit Cliff with a lot of interesting stuff. And not only that, you get to upgrade those things over time at a smithy. So if you have a sword you really like, you can lean into it for a while by upgrading it. So yeah, overall, Crimson Desert is one of those games that's not perfect, but it's really easy to get sucked into once it clicks. It's messy, it's weird sometimes, but there's just so much to do, and so many systems working together that it keeps you playing. The combat is strong, exploration feels rewarding, and even with some frustrating parts, I kept wanting to see what's next. Just know what you're getting into. It's not super polished, the story's not the main focus, and yeah, it can be a little janky, but if you like big open world games where you can experiment and mess around, this might be for you. So now I want to hear from you. What do you think about Crimson Desert? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.